Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2020-21 season. My name is Dan and today I'm going to be showing you my final Gameweek 1 team selection draft video. This is my team I'm going in with for Gameweek 1 and I'm super excited to share it with you guys because I've made a few changes now since last time. Before we go any further, I do want to very quickly say if you've not subscribed already, and I know 80% of you watching this video are not subscribed, please do consider subscribing. I'm going to be helping you, try and help you win your mini leagues all throughout the season, showing you my team, telling you the best captain picks, some great differentials to put in your team. I'm going to help you all win your mini league, but you just got to hit that subscribe button. So join the 20% who are subscribed and join to be a subscriber of FPL Mate. Please go do that now. But anyway, moving very swiftly on, I do also want to give a shout out to my sponsorship for today's video. It is Fantasy Football Hub, which is a really great website that offers so many different fantasy football related tools, sort of Opta stats, fixture tickers, so you can keep an eye on who has the best fixtures coming up and stuff like that. All kinds of really useful stuff that is sort of essential. You need to be involved in something like this if you want to take fantasy football really seriously, and I do, and I use this website, so it's great. So check out the link in my description for 25% off if that's it. But let's look at the team. Let's look at my team. That's what you're here for. Let's look at it. So here we have the beautifully animated pitch once again. And I guess let's start off in goal. So we've got Matt Ryan in goal. I know the first thing everyone is going to say when they see Matt Ryan is they're going to say, well, he's playing against Chelsea. Well, okay, yeah, we know he's playing against Chelsea, but what I'm going for is as a goalkeeper tactic, and it's not the only goalkeeper tactic, but my one is that I'm going for Ryan as a set and forget option. So he goes in goal and I don't even touch my goalkeeper right until my first wildcard. Yes, he'll have some tricky games in there, but you know, even when he's playing against Chelsea or Manchester United, he's going to be racking up more save points. So actually, it's not going to be all bad, even if he doesn't get the clean sheets. And, you know, there are some clean sheets in there. Newcastle, for example, that's a good chance of a clean sheet there. So yeah, it's a good set and forget option. Very cheap. Allows me to spend money elsewhere in my team. Goalkeepers, generally speaking, between sort of Ryan and an Alisson, there's not actually going to be a huge point difference. So there doesn't really seem much point in upgrading to a more expensive goalkeeper. Let's just stick a nice cheap guy in there. Set and forget. He'll get roughly the same amount of points as anyone else anyway. And we can use the rest of the money to make the rest of the team better where it actually counts and we get more high scoring players. So let's start off with a very high scoring player in Trent Alexander-Arnold in defence there. 7.5 million is an absolute bargain for a player who got 210 fantasy points last season. Absolutely crazy. Liverpool sort of get a clean sheet every other game, so Alexander-Arnold's going to cover all of those clean sheets. He's also on free kicks and corners, so he's going to be getting goals from free kicks. You know, 6 points per goal for a defender is just mouth-watering stuff. Plenty of assists through corners and free kicks as well as that. And just his excellent delivery in general is brilliant. He's such a creative player, and 7.5 is an absolute steal. If he was classified as a midfielder at 7.5 million, you know, you'd be absolutely biting FPL's hand off to get Trent Alexander-Arnold in your team, wouldn't you? Moving on to my, I guess, risky pick. It's in Reece James. It is a risky pick, and I know you guys in the comments are probably going to tell me exactly why it's risky. He might not play. What if Azpilicueta plays instead? But no, I understand the risks, and for 5 million, you know, you're going to have to accept a few risks with your pick, and the risk is that yes, he might rotate with someone like Azpilicueta at right back. But if he plays right wing back, I don't think Azpilicueta would play there, so he'd be nailed on. If Chelsea were to play 5 at the back, he'd be nailed on at right wing back. He did last season when he was fit. He was sort of playing sort of 2 out of 3 of Chelsea's game, but at the end of the season he was playing sort of the vast majority. He was starting the vast majority of games as well, so it does look like this last season was his sort of breakthrough season, I guess, and this season is the time where he may well nail down that place at right back, and I'm really excited to see if he can. If he does nail that place, the upside, the advantage of having Reece James is huge. So think about all of these great attackers that Chelsea have now got. They've brought in so many excellent forward players. So Reece James, he loves to bomb up the right wing, get some crosses in a similar way to sort of Trent Alexander-Arnold or Doherty. Both of those guys obviously are expensive for a reason. James is a similar mould in the sense of a very attacking wing back, but he's a little bit cheaper just because, you know, he carries a little bit of a risk. So my hope is if he nails down that spot 4.5 million is going to be such a bargain for someone like Reece James, a creative right wing back, essentially, passing to all of these amazing forward players. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how that goes. Hopefully Chelsea can keep a few more clean sheets. They did underperform last season. They've got a new keeper coming in now to sort of compete with Kepa. You know, it looks good for Chelsea, and yeah, I want to get involved on the Chelsea hype train a little bit, and that is how I'm doing that. But we'll stop going on about that. We'll go to Kyle Walker-Peters. We won't talk as much about him because it's a fairly simpler choice. So 4.5 million, really, really good bargain, isn't he? He gets me into the Southampton defence. I didn't want to double up on Southampton defence, otherwise I'd perhaps go McCarthy in goal. But Kyle Walker-Peters, he's capable of getting an assist or two. I think the season he was playing for Spurs, not last season, the season before, he sort of broke through into the team at the end of the 2018-19 season, and in 6 games, he got 3 assists. He hasn't quite managed to get the attacking contributions in Southampton so far, but you know, he's going to be nailed on now at the Southampton right back. Hopefully he can start reproducing a little bit more of attacking returns. Southampton looking really good. They've improved defensively massively, and they've got some really, really nice fixtures at the beginning of the season. So I do think you need to have someone in the Southampton defence, and why not go for someone who's so very cheap. It's really, really good price. So moving on to midfield, Salah is the first guy on the team sheet, for good reason. He's sort of been for 4 years now one of the top scoring players in FPL. Every single season you can't miss with Salah. A lot of people do have some doubts because he, at the end of last season, I guess, he wasn't producing as much. He was apparently off form, but even when he was off form and in the last games for Liverpool, he was still getting a goal contribution per game. So if that's an off form Salah, then you know, I look forward to seeing the on form Salah. But a lot of people are saying he's not been performing very well in friendlies either. But what everyone seems to be forgetting is that Salah, he's not had a competitive game in so long, and it's so harsh to judge him based on playing a load of games that basically mean nothing. Now he's back in a proper competitive game. Liverpool are going to be going for back-to-back titles. The hype is back on. Salah's going to be more motivated than ever. So much to play for the first time in a long time for Liverpool, might I add. And yeah, Salah's going to be back in amongst the goals and stuff. I really do strongly feel that. So yeah, no concern there whatsoever. Salah is just such an easy choice to put in your team. Next is Aubameyang. Wow, Aubameyang, his ownership is just shot up, hasn't it? What's he on, 46% now? Wow, so everyone's got Aubameyang, and for good reason. It's an excellent game against Fulham and West Ham. We know that last season Aubameyang was classified as a forward. Had Aubameyang been classified as a midfielder last season, he would have been sort of getting around, if not more points than Salah. If you include bonus points as well, he could have got more points than Salah potentially. Which is just amazing. So, you know, now he is classified as a midfielder. Is he going to go toe-to-toe with someone like Salah and be one of those giant scoring players? I really think he is. And he's priced at 12 million for a good reason. He's the most expensive player for a reason. He's going to be scoring plenty of goals again. But now he's classified as a midfielder. Extra point for every goal he scores. So, yeah, it seems a really good option. Next up is Son at 9 million. I do have 1.5 million spare in the bank. You might have seen that. My plan is to play Son against Everton. Son's looking really fit and sharp in pre-season and stuff, so whereas maybe some of the other Spurs players are lacking a little bit. Maybe Doherty or Kane might take a little bit longer to get into form. But Son, Ali look really good in pre-season. Son, he is the placeholder for Bruno Fernandes. So Bruno Fernandes, I do want to bring in Game Week 2. That's why the 1.5 million is there. So yeah, straight swap, Game Week 2. Bruno Fernandes is going to come in for Son. That's the plan anyway. But I really think Son can get a really good game in against Everton. Everton have a really bad record against Spurs. I think they haven't beaten Spurs in the Premier League since something like 2012. So Spurs should win that game. And, you know, as a 1 week punt, Son is not a bad shout, I don't think. Alan Saint-Maximin is my final player in the midfield. He completes the midfield, if you like. 5.5 million just seems like such a good value for the talisman of the Newcastle team, who are signing all of these new attacking players, basically buying an entire new team. And Alan Saint-Maximin, I'm guessing, is still going to be the talisman, but except now he's got all of this new quality to pass to. So I think Ryan Fraser, Callum Wilson, they're going to be excellent additions to the Newcastle team, and Alan Saint-Maximin is really going to benefit from having these new guys come into their team. So I couldn't resist bringing in Alan Saint-Maximin in the end. He's very highly owned for a very good reason. He's simply the most the best option at 5.5 million. There's no one better than him at that price. It really is a real bargain. So kind of got to go for him. Next up, Werner. Timo Werner, an amazing campaign in the Bundesliga last year. Something like it was getting more than a goal contribution a game, like goals galore, so many assists as well. So even though he got sort of like 20 something goals, 28 goals or something like that, he also got like 8 assists on top of that. So yeah, mental stats. And if he can reproduce that in the Premier League, I think he can. Think about Aubameyang, came straight from the Bundesliga to the Premier League and bedded in immediately. So players typically coming in from the German league do bed into the Premier League very, very quickly, whereby players from France, for example, take a little bit longer to settle in the Premier League. But Werner, coming from the Bundesliga, I think he will settle in fast. I think he's going to be an excellent pick. Again, look how highly owned he is. It's for a very good reason. He's an insane player, and 9.5 is an absolute bargain for a player like Werner, particularly when you consider Vardy is 10 million, Kane is 10.5 million. You'd expect Werner is probably a better player than those, it's particularly when it comes to fantasy Premier League, where you want goals and assists, and that's all that really matters. Yeah, Werner is going to be a really, really, really good pick. Mitrovic is next. He's playing against Arsenal Gameweek 1, but then he's got some nice fixtures after that. He's got Leeds and Aston Villa. In general, Fulham do have some quite nice fixtures, but the reason to choose Mitrovic is because when Fulham score, it's Mitrovic who is amongst it. Something like last season when they played in the Championship, Mitrovic, 44%, 45%, something like that, of the goals that Fulham scored were through Mitrovic. So if Fulham score, Mitrovic scores. So, and you expect that Fulham might score some goals this season, right? And if they're only coming from one player, then that's sort of a really good deal, right? He is the kind of player who I think could score against Arsenal. But like I said, the fixtures look really good thereafter, so I'm very happy to put him in my Gameweek 1 team. Next up, finally, is Che Adams. Another, I guess, risky one. He's one of my 2 risky differentials. I guess he's got Crystal Palace first game, which looks to be a really nice fixture. At the end of last season, although, last season Adams wasn't playing every single game, he ended the season sort of playing sort of 90% of games. Or starting 90% of games, and his returns in those games were really, really good. So he was scoring plenty of goals. His stats look really good. His expected goals and expected assists were very, very high. Even higher than someone like Danny Ings per minute. So although Danny Ings is the nailed-on striker and will get you more points, Adams is not a replacement for Danny Ings, but he can, when Adams plays, he can match Danny Ings. It's just a case of, is Adams going to play? Is Shane Long going to play? I think Adams has a much better chance of starting over someone like Shane Long, just because of Adams' form at the end of last season. I don't see why he would lose his place. So, yeah, no, really excited to see what Adams offers. But yeah, let's move on to the bench very quickly. We've got Walton on the bench. Christian Walton, just because he's the backup goalkeeper at Brighton. So if Ryan does get injured, unfortunately, then Walton is just going to step straight in and play. So I don't need to worry about Ryan getting injured or anything like that, or suspended. Don't need to worry about it. My first sub there is Burke. So yeah, Oliver Burke is a little bit of a strange one. He's been just brought in by Sheffield United, and Chris Wilder was talking about him signing for Sheffield United, and even though Ollie Burke is listed as a midfielder, Chris Wilder at Sheffield very much sees Burke as a forward. So we're potentially going to get an out of position forward here, and if he makes a good impression, I mean, the strikers at Sheffield United are have not really cut it last season. So I guess Burke has been brought in as a young, more powerful, pacey guy who can maybe change up the Sheffield United attack a little bit. And if he starts off really well, gets a couple of goals, he could become their main striker. And that's kind of what I'm gambling on. So I think it's a really, really nice pick in midfield. Could be out of position, could be on for a lot of game time. So yeah, let's see how that goes. It's an interesting sub pick, if nothing else. I know you could go for someone a bit more boring like Basuma, who will get more minutes, but will sort of only get 1 or 2 points a game. Or you could go for someone a little bit more exciting and hope that they break into the first team and get you some points, and that's what I'm going for there. And then Ayling on the bench there as well for Leeds United. His first fixture is obviously against Liverpool, so he won't be playing in that one. But next week, sort of the weeks after, I'll be rotating Ayling in for James and Kyle Walker-Peters, depending on the fixture. So those both will rotate out for Ayling. Ayling, he's nailed on at right back for Leeds. He gets loads and loads of goal contributions for a right back anyway. He's much better than Dallas because he's far more nailed. Although Dallas's stats look good, Dallas only really got goal contributions, sort of assists and goals, when he was playing further up the pitch, filling in for wingers and filling in for midfielders. And when he was playing at left back, which you'd say is Dallas's, I guess, most used position. He didn't really get many goal contributions. So Ayling is going to be playing every single game at right back. He's not a utility man. He's not a rotation man. He's just going to be playing, and he's going to be getting contributions from that position, and there's nothing to worry about there. So really, really good pick. And then finally, Ferguson. I've spoken so much about Ferguson before, so I won't go into too much detail. But I've gone for Ferguson because although he's injured now, in 4 or 5 weeks, he is going to probably be playing regularly for Crystal Palace, and then I can start using Ferguson as part of my starting 11. There's no point in me going for someone else. A lot of people would suggest to me, say, "Oh, why are you going for Ferguson? Why not go for Mitchell or Burr or someone like that at 4 million?" And the answer to that question really is, I wouldn't be playing them anyway. They would just be sitting on my bench anyway. So why not just have someone even who is going to sit on my bench, but actually has a chance of playing for me later on at least. So that's the kind of upside there. So Ferguson is going nowhere. He's super low ownership now. Everyone's jumped off him. Trust me, in sort of game week 4 or 5, when Ferguson starts playing, everyone is going to pile on Ferguson, and his price is just going to rocket up to like 4.5 million overnight, essentially. So I'm going to get him nice and early, nice and cheap, 4 million, and sort of beat the hype train. That's the sort of plan there. So that is my team. As you can see, there's no sort of Justin or Vinagre who I've had in my team before. They're just too risky. I'd rather go with some players who I think are definitely going to play longer term. You could say that James is potentially a risk there, but James swaps are very nicely out for Luke Shaw if that all goes wrong. Adams, obviously that could go wrong as well, but there's so many options as forwards at 6 million. I've got so many options there, so yeah, that's absolutely fine as well. I'll just swap Adams for another 6 million forward who is performing, maybe an Ollie Watkins. There's loads of options. So yeah, this team is it's based around a lot of prize points. There's lots of options that I can go for, switch out. Even my risky players, if it doesn't work out, there's lots to switch to. Defense rotates really nicely. Got a clear route to bring in Bruno Fernandes by sacrificing Son. Salah, Aubameyang, can't really go wrong. Werner, let's see how he does. If it doesn't go well, again, we can switch him down to Martial. So there's lots of options, very flexible, and your Game Week 1 teams, if you take one thing out from this video when you're going to build your teams, is be flexible. And don't worry about ownership. Don't worry about going template. Go for players that are popular because they're popular for a reason. So popular players are good. It's all about, at the start of the season, just getting as many points as you can. So just pick the players that you think will score the most points. Forget everything else. Who is going to score you the most points? Pick them. And try and make sure your team is flexible. Make sure that if you do have a risky player in there, there is a player that you can very easily replace them with if things don't go to plan. So yes, plenty to think about there. As I said, if you have not subscribed yet, please do consider subscribing. I'll quickly say that my captain for this team is going to be Aubameyang, and my vice captain is going to be Salah. I'm not going to go into detail on that just because I made a whole video about captains literally yesterday, so go check that out next if you fancy it. But yes, please do subscribe. Please do like this video if you found this useful in any way at all. Please do consider liking it, and plenty of stuff in the description. So like I said, Fantasy Football Hub link if you want to get 25% off that. My Instagram, my Twitter. What else is in there? My Patreon, if you want to support me on Patreon, and of course my league code. Like there's one day left to get in my league from Gameweek 1. So join my league and see how you get on, and hopefully a lot of you guys can do really well and beat me. That would be funny. Let's do that. But that's everything for today. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'm so excited for the season. So much more to come. So please do stick around. We're going to help you all win all of your mini leagues. We're all going to do it together. We're going to smash it. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope to see you on the next one. See you later, mates. Bye bye.